Hello, everybody. I'm glad that I can join this lecture series of titled Peaceful Reunification of Korea, Why the Only Way to World Peace. I think this is a very difficult topic, and we need to think a lot about it because it's very deep-seated notion of two Koreas conflict. And we need to understand more about Korea. So why two Korea's division is affecting very negatively to the world peace. So in this first lecture, my focus is on Korea as a cultural superpower. So this is the Korean Peninsula. And as you know, in 1945, after the World War II, two global superpowers appeared, the United States and the Soviet Union, after winning the World War II in both Europe and Asia. So as you know, here in the map here, in the bottom left, Korea looks like very peripheral to US and the Soviet Union from their global strategic view. It is the eastern tip of Asian continent, so as you see. However, I kind of saying that the Korea has established a peace-loving cultural superpower for a period of millennia. So in pursuit of peace, the ancient Koreans moved from the middle of the China to northeastern Asia. So proudly saying themselves as a grandsons of heaven. It's around BC 3500. And according to a famous Chinese writer and linguist, Lin Yutang, he said, in ancient Chinese historical texts, a consistent narrative reveals that Dongyi tribe, that is Korean people, skilled in making and handling bows, resided in the northeastern part of Asia. So here the word Dongyi, if you know the Chinese character, Yi stands for the big bow. That is in the character. So, and this tribe, Dongyi tribe, also according to Lin Yutang, who served as a director of arts in UNESCO in 1947 to 1950, he also invented the Chinese typewriter. He said that many Chinese individuals who take pride in their proficiency in Chinese characters are well aware that the origin of these characters lie in the oracle-born script created by Dongyi tribe, who are Koreans. So that's something we need to make note of it. So there are some characters I found very interesting is that the word prohibition, in Korean it is gum, prohibition, is composed of two trees on the top and forest, and the divine that is called she. So together, the meaning is prohibition. So the meaning explain that the preventing people from recklessly approaching the sacred forest, two trees, which is a realm of the divine, is a prohibition. And another word is ram in Korean, that is greedy desire. Same two trees, forest, and under it there's a woman. And it means ram gam, greedily indulging in desires. And another word is ramdap, having excessive greed. I found it very interesting if you understand the genesis of Bible. And another word in ancient Korea is a hongsu. It means there's a character stands for water, and that is meaning that gathering widely and deeply in one place. That is flooding, 홍수. And another word for sun, that is large ship, means we have a boat here, small boat rather. This is 8, and this means mouth or person. So there were 8 people in that boat. That means big ship, large ship. Can you imagine that kind of ship, floating with 8 people? And another word for sacrifice, 희생 in Korean. The he composed of excellence, and along with here cattle, the cows and bulls, and sheep over here, and spear. That is kind of sacrifice, the word. And 생, also cattle's here. So healthy cattle without blemish used in rituals. These people, Dongi people used and developed this kind of ideas and use it for communication. So think about it. These are the cultures, and the words are needed to develop these people. And then these people develop 2 principles of teaching from parents, children, and they finally set up a state called Dangun Joseon in BC 2333. And these are 2 founding principles that is called 경천 애인 and 홍익 인간. So here, 경천 means revere heaven, and 애인 means love people. This is indigenous teachings of Dangun Joseon. So Kyung, this Chinese character, represent a gesture of offering sacrifices, and E symbolize warm heart. So it is believed that the heart of offering precious sacrifice to God and heart of loving one's neighbor are the same expressions of love. Isn't it amazing? And another principle is 홍익 인간, means enhance the welfare of humanity at large. So, and then as a historical artifacts in Dangun Joseon, a lot of goindo is dolmen. It looks like this, found in Korean Peninsula and part of China, current China. So it is highest concentration of around 40,000 of such examples out of 60,000 worldwide, North Africa, Europe. So these are mostly found one in Dangun Joseon. This is a historical facts. So it also signify the idea of 경천 in revere heaven and love people. And this burial site is also used as a sacred place for offerings of precious sacrifices to heaven and ancestors. So this kind of cultures of 경천에인, revere heaven and love people, lasted, nearly 2 millennia without any other, cultures. And then finally, Buddhism came to Korean Peninsula. So it is harmoniously integrated in Buddhism in the Three Kingdom period is a Goguryeo and Baekje and Silla. So Goguryeo actually replaced Dangun Joseon generally. And during the Goguryeo dynasty in AD 372, Buddhism came into Korean Peninsula, and it lasted 1 millennium, nearly 10 centuries. So throughout unified Silla and Goryeo dynasty until 1392 here. And as you know, the core teachings of Buddhism includes wisdom and compassion and relief of suffering in general. And the Buddhism really prospered in Korea, you know, since then. And currently, there are about 17,000, more than 17,000 Buddhist temples in Korea, in the Korean Peninsula, including 980 traditional temples, 100 years ago. Like a famous one, like Bulguksa, Haeinsa, Dongdosa, Seokguram, and so on. And there's one very important thing is there's the oldest woodblock print for the Buddhist kind of book in early 8th century in the Unified Silla period. This Buddhist scripture is about relics of Buddha's body, but make note of that it is oldest woodblock print. And then through this woodblock print in the Goryeo dynasty is a 팔만대장경, is a 80,000, more than 80,000 wooden printing blocks made for a Buddhist canon. It's a collection of huge Buddhist scriptures in 13th century in Goryeo dynasty. So it is a UNESCO World Heritage. So just focusing on how deeply they try to understand how preciously the Buddhism was incorporated in the Korean culture, but not replacing the founding principle of 경천애인, 웅이인가. It is merged. And then the other one is the oldest metal movable type book in Korea. In the Buddhist culture, that is called Jikji Shimche Yojo. It is Buddhist text developed in 1372 during the Goryeo dynasty. It's about dialogues and letters and exchanges with the various Buddhist masters and monks. So after the oldest woodblock print, this one is the oldest metal movable type. And this book is confirmed as the oldest metal movable type book. 600 later, in 1972, in Paris, exhibition on the world's oldest books. So isn't it amazing that this Buddhist culture incorporate the essence of the scriptures and canon of Buddhism in its utmost way? And now Confucianism is coming into Korea, not necessarily placing Buddhism and the founding principle. It is converged, blended in late 14th century, the Joseon dynasty until 1910. And as you know, the essence of Confucianism is promoting ancestor worship and prioritizing human-centered virtues of fostering peace. It's quite similar to 경천애인 and 홍익인간, the founding principles. So they are, merging together. And in this period, the famous Korean alphabet, Hangul, is created by King Sejong the Great during the Joseon dynasty. This is him, and this is alphabet. I took these photos in the Gwanghwamun in the middle of Seoul myself when I visited. And so this is amazing that Hangul was created by this king and a known person. Because many of the languages, we don't know who made it, but Hangul is probably the only one alphabet we know who developed it along with his people. And another one is Annals of Joseon Dynasty. That is an unparalleled historical treasure because it is kind of so-called the longest continuous documentation of a single dynasty, near 500 years of 1,893 volumes. So I found that this kind of tradition of documentation is very, very strong in Korean culture, along with the founding principles and Buddhism and Confucianism. So I kind of notion that Korea, in its long history, has shown a steadfast commitment to fostering a culture of documentation and record keeping, as well as advancing recording techniques. You know that the first oracle-born script, Kapgolmun by Dongi tribe, and then oldest woodblock print, Buddhist, scriptures, and then oldest metal movable type, Buddhist, books. And then the Korean alphabet, Hangul, is created. And then this Hangul is now being exported to some tribes, who do not have their own alphabet, because they are using Korean alphabet for their own, written language. That is now happening worldwide. And there's one more, so I can imagine one more advancing recording techniques I'm going to talk about later. So now it's coming in the early 20th century. In Japan, the imperialism and fascism is being thrived. And in China, the influence of communism is being, flourished. But in the Korean peninsula, Wonsan, in 1903, there's a Wonsan revival movement. It's a Christian revival. In 1904, more than 10,000 Koreans converted. In 1906, another more than 30,000 baptized. There was a German Catholic priest who traveled around, Korean peninsula, and he visited Wonsan and make a note that Wonsan can be compared to Rome of Christian movement. He said it in his missionary report when he got back to Germany. In that missionary report, he also said that one interesting thing, he described average Koreans pray directly to Chunji Shinmyeong, Chunji, heaven and earth, as a heavenly father and mother, directly. And he thought that he's a very humble God who graciously accepts prayers with just a clean bowl of water. So I was very, interested to see his note. And there is a Pyongyang, we call the Jerusalem of the East. So Pyongyang also became the Christian stronghold over more than 100 churches and more Protestant missionaries than any other Asian cities. So the Wonsan and Pyongyang represent the great Christian movement in early 20th century, unlike China and Japan. But unfortunately, those two cities, Wonsan and Pyongyang, are placed in north of 38th parallel. Make a note of it. So communism is swept on that line. So swept the Wonsan and Pyongyang. So now Christianity now underwent a fusion, not replacing, fusion with Confucianism of Joseon and Buddhism and founding principles. So it's flourishing. And Republic of Korea was set up in 1948. And you know that first President Seung-ho Lee is a Christian. And the cornerstone of Christianity, love the Lord your God and your neighbor as yourself. Isn't it similar to Gyeongcheon-ain? Yeah. And as you know, in South Korea, there's a huge flourish of Christianity. Over 5 million Catholics, over 8 million Protestants, nearly 20% of population called Christians. And what about missionaries? More than 22,000 Korean missionaries over around 168 countries worldwide, you know. And now, kind of final fusion of Western civilization's pillars, democracy, science, technology, and the Renaissance is fused with Christianity, Confucianism, Buddhism, and founding principle for many, many millennia. Look at the democracy. The core tenets of democracy is popular sovereignty, division of powers, and rule of law. You know that. But what about South Korea? Republic has become one of the most democratic nations in the world. Of course, North Korea is one of the most autocratic nations because of they are poisoned by communism. So we gotta, overcome that poison, but it's not easy. And what about science technology? Samsung and SK, and other than other industries, I was focused on semiconductor industry, ranking first and third, two companies, and they focus on memory semiconductor market, like 70% of DRAM and 52% of NAND. And look at this. Now the memory semiconductor advancing recording techniques. This tradition of printing wood, metal, now finally memory semiconductor in Korea. I found it very interesting. And now what about Renaissance? The Hallyu, the modern finale of Hallyu, K-pop, K-movie. It's not just happening, modern times. I thought it is kind of deep-rooted traditions of cultural richness, along with the fermentation of all these different traditions of Buddha, Confucius, Jesus Christ, and Socrates' teachings are blended with the founding principles. And communism is thriving in North Korea, as you know. Nowadays, not the nuclear weapons, but K-pop, K-drama, K-movies are the biggest threat to North Korea, communism. And you know that in Cuba, K-culture is thriving in Cuba. And that's how helped that South Korea and Cuba has diplomatic ties recently, last week. So this kind of K-culture is the biggest kind of threat to communism to North Korea. And I found the elements of harmony in K-culture, heaven and earth, humans and nature, human minds, family members, and K-food. So this Korean flag is symbolizing the harmony of heaven and earth. And I visited this place in the middle of Korea, Chungcheongbuk-do, Yeongdong. It is the mountain of Wolryubong. I found it the nice harmony of humans and nature. There is a human kind of made it structures nicely blended and the nature. And what about this Goryeo Cheongja? Harmonious human minds, harmonious. I felt that way when I sit in the National Museum in Yongsan, Korea. I took these photos too. And what about these family members? Harmony of family members from grandparents and small kids. Here, small kids over here is me. This is my family. And then K-food. You know that K-food, bibimbap, kimbap, jjigae, and jeongo. You see the mixture and, blending and harmony. Bibimbap, and kimbap. So these ingredients are mixed together. This is also kind of jjigae, kimchi jjigae, and 콩나물 jjigae, things like that. I ate them, all of them, when I visit Korea. And this is more like a jungle, more mixed vegetables and meats and things like that. So mixed and producing a new taste. That's kind of uh, strength and taste of Korean food. So kind of conclusion. So Korea in its history has embraced these four great wisdoms of humanity, of teachers of Buddha and Confucius and Jesus Christ and Socrates. So Hellenism kind of tradition in an unparalleled manner. I don't know. I couldn't find any other country that has embraced these four major cultures in one country. I couldn't find one except Korea, and created incredible cultural richness guided by this founding principle of 경천애인, revere heaven, and love people, along with 홍익인간, benefit humanity widely at large. So it's a nicely mixed and blended in Korean culture. So I'd like to propose that world peace is not easy. It's not an easy topic, but I'd like to propose a series of lectures that we need to understand the power of culture, and unify Korea as a cultural superpower is needed as a must ingredient, along with the military and economic superpower of the United States and Japan. So these three countries with a love for freedom and democracy and this cultural tradition, along with that, we can make a true world peace. So I think this is the kind of main kind of essence uh, that we need to contemplate. Why Korean culture that will be created by unified of two Koreas important in the way to make world peace. So we'll talk about more about division of the Korean Peninsula and reunification and all these the major steps needed to achieve world peace in the later lectures. So thank you. Thanks for listening.